Hello, cherished viewers, and a very warm welcome back to our channel. Today, we embark on a fascinating journey into the world of one of Hollywood's most enduring and enigmatic figures, Tom Cruise. While he may grace our screens with a captivating smile and an undeniable charm, beneath that amiable exterior lies a profound strength and an unwavering resolve. It's a strength that many have underestimated, mistaking his geniality for a lack of backbone. But as we shall discover today, when a boundary is crossed, when a line is overstepped, Tom Cruise doesn't resort to shouting, he doesn't engage in curses, and he certainly doesn't lose his temper. Instead, with a quiet intensity and a surgical precision, he masterfully dissects and dismantles the very essence of an ill-conceived question. The underlying tone, the dubious intent, and indeed, the professionalism of the interviewer, all within a mere matter of seconds. And what makes this truly remarkable is his ability to accomplish this without ever once raising his voice. This, my dear friends, is the compelling narrative of a man who, in many respects, has single-handedly redefined the very notion of composure in the high-stakes arena of Hollywood. He is a global icon, a veritable lightning rod for attention, and, as many have learned to their chagrin, someone you absolutely do not want to ambush with a loaded or impertinent question. From the sometimes awkward confines of daytime talk shows to the intensely confrontational battlegrounds of journalistic interviews, we will meticulously examine 10 pivotal moments where Tom Cruise, with an almost effortless grace, shut down an entire line of questioning, leaving his interlocutors stunned and often, quite frankly, outmaneuvered, all without ever breaking a sweat. Before we unravel these fascinating encounters, please do us a kindness by tapping that like button, subscribing to our channel if you haven't already, and perhaps sharing this video with fellow enthusiasts of Hollywood history and remarkable resilience. Your support truly helps us continue bringing you these in-depth explorations. Now, let us delve into these extraordinary instances. Our first glimpse into Tom Cruise's formidable composure begins with what appeared to be a typical, lighthearted segment on a popular daytime talk show, hosted by the effervescent Ellen DeGeneres. Ellen, known for her playful banter and sometimes mischievous games, attempted to engage Tom in a seemingly innocuous bit. The exchange was brief, almost fleeting, but it set the stage for understanding Cruise's deeper approach to public interaction. Ellen, with a twinkle in her eye, posed a question that many might consider a simple, fun choice. Britney or Christina? A classic pop culture preference query. Tom, however, met this with a look of genuine perplexity, responding with a simple, "What do you mean? Britney's here." He then added, "I don't know what. I'm not even sure what I mean. I've never thought about it." Tom's refusal to engage in this surface-level game wasn't born of rudeness. It was a carefully calculated response. He conveyed with crystal clarity that he simply doesn't participate in trivial, superficial antics, especially not when the cameras are rolling, and indeed not ever. For him, every interaction, no matter how seemingly minor, carries a certain weight and demands a degree of authenticity. This seemingly small moment was, in retrospect, merely a warm-up, a subtle precursor to the more intense confrontations that lay ahead. It was an early indication of a man who operates on his own terms, unwilling to be drawn into frivolous charades. Then came a truly memorable clash, one that reverberated across the media landscape, the renowned interview with Matt Lauer. This was in 2005, a period when Tom Cruise was particularly vocal about his views on psychiatry and psychotropic medications. Lauer, a seasoned journalist known for his incisive questioning, brought a palpable intensity to the discussion. He pressed Cruise on his well-publicized stance against antidepressants, specifically drawing a parallel to actress Brooke Shields, who had publicly shared her positive experience with such medication in addressing postpartum depression. Shields had stated that this particular intervention had helped her feel better, whether it was the antidepressant itself or the support from a counselor or psychiatrist. Lauer presented this as a counterpoint, implying that Cruise's blanket condemnation might be insensitive or misinformed. Tom, however, was ready. He didn't shy away from the challenge. Instead, he brought the facts, or at least his interpretation of them, with unwavering conviction. "Matt, you have to understand this," he began, his voice calm but firm. "Here we are today where I talk out against drugs and psychiatric abuses of electric shocking people, okay? Against their will of drugging children with them not knowing the effects of these drugs. Do you know what Adderall is? Do you know Ritalin? Do you know now that Ritalin is a street drug? Do you understand that?" Lauer attempted to interject, asserting, "The difference is this was not against her will, though. This wasn't..." But Cruz, with remarkable control, cut him off, turning the tables. "I wasn't asking you a question, Matt. I'm asking you a question." He continued, "I understand there's abuse of all of these things." Cruz then delivered his most potent critique. "No, you see, here's the problem. You don't know the history of psychiatry. I do. All it does is mask the problem, Matt. And if you understand the history of it, it masks the problem. That's what it does." Lauer, still attempting to find an angle, pushed further. "So, postpartum depression to you is kind of a little psychological." Cruz didn't budge, his focus unyielding. "Matt, that is the post. Now you're talking about two different things." When Lauer insisted, "But that's what she went on the antidepressant for," Cruz countered. "But what happens? The antidepressant, all it does is mask the problem. There's ways of vitamins and through exercise and various things. I'm not saying that that isn't real. That's not what I'm saying. That's an alteration of what I'm saying. I'm saying that drugs aren't the answer. That these drugs are very dangerous. They're mind-altering, antipsychotic drugs. And there are ways of doing it without that so that we don't end up in a brave new world." Throughout this intense exchange, Lauer tried to soften the confrontation, to find common ground, or at least a less aggressive footing. But Tom's voice never wavered, his conviction absolute. He concluded by challenging Lauer's responsibility as a communicator. "And you're here on the Today Show and to talk about it in a way of saying, well, isn't it okay and being reasonable about it when you don't know? And I do? I think that you should be a little bit more responsible in knowing what it is because you communicate to people." There was no yelling, no personal insults, just a razor-sharp precision in his arguments that left Lauer looking conspicuously like the uninformed party. It was an intense, undeniably uncomfortable, and ultimately a legendary moment in the annals of celebrity interviews. Next, we journey to Australia, where seasoned interviewer Peter Overton dared to ask a question that likely millions of people around the globe had pondered, perhaps whispered, but rarely voiced directly to Tom Cruise. Instead of eliciting a sensational, tell-all answer, Overton received a masterclass in boundary setting. The question was direct, unvarnished, and deeply personal. Was Nicole the love of your life? Tom's immediate response wasn't defensive, but rather a questioning of the question itself, delivered with a calm, almost disarming tone. What do you mean, Peter?" When Overton pressed, reminding him, "You were married for 10 years, Cruise calmly stated, "I listen, we raised children. I mean, how do you answer that? How do you answer that question?" He then briefly shifted to his present, stating, "She's someone that, I plan on getting married again." Overton, momentarily sidetracked, asked, "You do?" Cruise confirmed, "Oh, absolutely, yeah." "And having kids?" "Absolutely." But Overton, still tethered to his original line of inquiry, circled back. "But Nicole was a major part of your life and a love of your life at the time." Cruise acknowledged, "I loved Nick very much. There's no question." Overton continued, "Would you like Nicole to remarry?" Cruise responded, "Yes, I want Nicole to be happy. That's what I want." The interview seemed to be navigating a delicate truce, but Overton, unable to resist one more probe, ventured into the territory of their current relationship. "And do you have a relationship where you talk? It's a parenting relationship and talk professionally about each other's..." It was at this precise moment that Tom Cruise drew a definitive line in the sand. His voice remained even, but his words carried an unmistakable weight. Why don't... Listen, here's the thing, Peter. You're stepping over a line now. You're stepping over a line. You know you are. Overton, visibly taken aback, stumbled, offering a flimsy justification. I suppose they're questions that people want to know. Cruise, with a penetrating gaze, retorted, Peter, you want to know. Tom stared directly at him, and Peter, caught in the sudden shift of power, visibly stumbled, losing his journalistic footing. What had begun as a determined attempt to pry open personal wounds and extract a salacious soundbite became, in Tom Cruise's hands, a masterclass in establishing and enforcing personal boundaries with dignity and an unyielding sense of self-respect. He didn't explode, he simply and powerfully asserted his right to privacy. Moving on, we encounter a moment of subtle yet profound power, demonstrating that sometimes the loudest response is no response at all. An Asian reporter, during an interview, posed a question to Tom Cruise concerning the politically charged topic of Trump-era tariffs and their potential impact on overseas film productions. It was a complicated, politically sensitive inquiry, cleverly disguised as casual curiosity about the logistics of his film shoots. The reporter began, I like to ask this question to anyone who's up for it. I think so. I watched the film and I saw that it was filmed in many different locations around the world, including Africa. And of course, we all are aware of the tariffs that President Donald Trump has been imposing on overseas productions and films. So, is this particular movie under that tariff, and also how much of the film was shot overseas? It was a question designed to potentially draw Cruise into a political discussion, perhaps even elicit a controversial soundbite. Tom's reaction was singular. I think that's a fair answer. All right. Can we move on to the next question, please? No reaction, no explicit comment on the tariffs, no engagement with the political undertones. Just a subtle, almost imperceptible shift in his expression, a quiet acknowledgement that he understood the question, followed by an immediate, polite, yet utterly firm redirection. It was brutal in its efficiency. Without uttering a single word about the tariffs themselves, he conveyed his complete unwillingness to engage. This moment served as a powerful reminder that sometimes, silence, when deployed with such strategic precision, can be the most deafening and impactful response one can offer. It speaks volumes without articulating a single syllable. Next, we turn to an interview that began on a light and breezy note, featuring Tom Cruise and Sophia Bella. The initial conversation revolved around a dynamic fight scene between Tom and his co-star, Russell Crowe, in a film they were promoting. Tom spoke warmly of Crowe, describing him as an amazing athlete and a very good stuntman himself also. He shared that they really had a lot of fun doing that fight sequence. Crowe apparently had mentioned getting bruised during the filming, to which Tom humorously added, "Both of us got bruised when he picks me up and slams me on that table. You know, it's a real table." Yeah, he's got to do it. The atmosphere was congenial until another reporter abruptly interjected with a bizarre and rather inappropriate hypothetical question. Away from that and go, he would actually beat me if we went at it properly. If you had a fight properly, why do you ask that question? Why think of stuff like that? The question was not only awkward, but also attempted to pit two colleagues and friends against each other in a fictional, combative scenario. Tom's immediate response was a mixture of genuine confusion and controlled disapproval. Why do you ask that question? Why think of stuff like that? I don't even think like I'm going to fight my friend, because you're always thinking of the audience when you're about to... Exactly. He's my friend. You know, that would never happen. His answer was composed, undeniably firm, and carried an icy undertone. The message was unequivocally clear. He was not there to entertain dumb hypotheticals, especially ones that sought to create an imaginary conflict between him and his friends. It was a swift, decisive dismissal of an unprofessional line of questioning, delivered with characteristic calm. Now, this particular incident crossed the line from merely awkward into a realm of outright disrespect. demonstrating Tom Cruise's remarkable ability to maintain his composure even in the face of outright provocation. During a red carpet interview, a man, disguised as a reporter, committed an utterly shocking act. He squirted water directly into Tom Cruise's face. It was a moment designed for humiliation, a cheap prank intended to elicit an explosive reaction. But the prankster clearly underestimated his target. Tom Cruise did not lash out. He did not yell. Instead, he looked the man dead in the eye, his gaze unwavering, and with a voice that was eerily calm yet filled with an undeniable authority, he repeated the phrase, "Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Come here, why would you do that?" He repeated it calmly, firmly, again and again. The prankster, who likely expected an angry outburst, was visibly stunned by Cruise's measured yet potent response. As the man tried to deflect, Tom continued, "What's so funny about that? It's ridiculous." When the man continued to try and justify his actions, Cruise, still maintaining his composure, stated, That's really... Hey, no, don't run away. That's incredibly rude. I'm here giving you an interview and answering your questions, and you do something really nasty. You're a jerk." Tom wasn't angry in the conventional sense. He was profoundly disappointed, and it was this palpable sense of disappointment, conveyed with such controlled intensity, that made his rebuke hit so much harder than any angry shout ever could have. It was a powerful display of dignity in the face of blatant disrespect. In a separate interview, Tom Cruise was confronted with another strange hypothetical, one that carried a veiled jab at his unique life. The question subtly suggested that his existence as a global superstar was somehow abnormal, that his stardom had rendered him less human or disconnected from the experiences of an average person. The interviewer began by referencing one of the iconic elements of his mission: impossible films. Going back to Mission Impossible, one of my favorite bits of tech in that movie is, of course, the mask, right? And the reveal. If you could have a mask of just an average person, no one knows who you are. And you could walk about your life, no one knows that you're Tom Cruise. What are you doing? The question was loaded, implying that Cruise's life was so extraordinary that he must yearn for the anonymity of a normal existence. Tom's initial reaction was a polite clarification. "Beg your pardon? What? What are you doing? Like, it's not you." The interviewer rephrased, "What would I do?" "Yeah, what would you do? No one knows it's you. They can't be there." Tom's response was immediate, unflustered, and deeply personal. "No, but I just do the same thing I always do. Go watch movies, go make movies, go tour the world." He continued with a genuine sense of gratitude. I feel very... Look, it's a privilege. It's a dream of mine my whole life to do what I do. And travel the world, the places where I was in America, and just work in these environments, and the kind of welcome that I get, I never take it for granted. It's very beautiful. So I enjoy it. I enjoy people. Tom didn't miss a beat. He wasn't rattled by the implied criticism or the suggestion that his life was anything less than fulfilling. He owned it completely because he knows exactly who he is, deeply appreciates his life and career, and feels no need whatsoever to justify that to anyone. It was a moment of quiet strength and profound self-acceptance. On Jimmy Kimmel Live, Jimmy, known for his affable but sometimes probing style, attempted to playfully paint Tom Cruise as being out of touch with everyday life, particularly regarding common experiences like public transportation. Kimmel, with a grin, began, "And to be honest, I use you as a distraction to get to my car. I'm trying to help you out with it. I appreciate that, but are there times where you just want to, get to where you're going to go, and can you even, could you get on public transportation or go to a museum?" The implication was clear. A star of his magnitude surely couldn't navigate the mundane realities of public life. Tom, however, met this challenge with a knowing smile and an answer that disarmed Kimmel completely. "Look, I do. I'm ready for whatever is going to happen. So I do. I don't change my life. But look, I like talking to people, and as I said, I make my movies for them, and yeah, I do go on transportation. My security loves that when I do that, the tube in England. Then, with a casual confidence, he dropped a story that shut down Kimmel's premise entirely. Oh, I do that. Like sometimes I'll put on my hat and my earphones and I'll just go in and get on the tube just if I want to get to the stage. Kimmel, surprised, asked, "Does that work? Do people stop you?" Tom responded, "Sometimes it does. Sometimes it works. Sometimes, like, people are during rush hour. Like I go in and I'll be there, and I remember one time I was there and there's like 14-year-old kid. This girl was there and everyone was looking at their phones, and I just saw her. I looked over and kind of my head's down. I got my baseball cap and she's just staring at me like this, and I looked at her and she looked at me and she just looked around the subway like it was funny but real." It was a charming, authentic anecdote that perfectly illustrated his point. Tom Cruise doesn't boast about his experiences. He simply lives them. And when challenged about his connection to the common man, he brings forth genuine stories, not defensive excuses. He demonstrated that his fame, while significant, hasn't severed his link to the everyday world. Then came an insult, delivered with an almost breathtaking lack of subtlety during a press tour for his film Collateral. An interviewer, in what can only be described as a thinly veiled challenge to his casting, suggested that the gritty role of Vincent, the hitman, seemed more fitting for acting legends like Al Pacino or Robert De Niro. The interviewer began, "How are you? Hello." "Very well, thank you." "So, when I read about this movie, I said, well, this is a typical movie for Al Pacino or for Robert De Niro. And then you went and took that role upon yourself." The insult wasn't even subtle. It was a direct questioning of his suitability for the part, implying he was out of his depth. Tom Cruise, however, didn't flinch. He didn't react defensively. Instead, he leaned in, meeting the implied challenge with a quiet confidence. I mean, I don't get afraid to take on characters. I get excited. There's always that question of, is it going to work? Will I be able to do it? To what level? But I really enjoy starting a character and just having at it, and see what happens. He didn't defend his acting skills or his right to play the part. He simply demonstrated his profound confidence in his craft and his eagerness to embrace new challenges. The interviewer had tried to knock him down a peg, to diminish his stature, but Tom Cruise, through his sheer self-assurance, stood taller instead. It was a remarkable display of mental fortitude and self-belief. And it was with this very same interviewer, during that same Collateral press tour, that Tom Cruise delivered what can only be described as a mic drop moment. A definitive assertion of control that left no room for doubt. After the earlier implied insult about his suitability for the role, the interviewer, perhaps emboldened, crossed yet another line, making a statement that was presumptuous and unprofessional. What exactly was said to provoke this is lost to the specific clip, but Cruise's response was a masterclass in direct, unyielding correction. With his voice calm but imbued with an absolute, unshakable authority, Tom Cruise looked the interviewer squarely in the eye and stated, "Take responsibility for what you want to know. Don't say what other people... This is a conversation that I'm having with you right now. You're right. Okay, so I'm just telling you right now. Okay, just put your manners back in." The interviewer, clearly taken aback by this direct and forceful rebuke, attempted a feeble defense. "Do you think I was out of line?" Cruise's response was immediate and unequivocal. "Yes, absolutely." Left with no other recourse, the interviewer promptly offered a genuine apology. "Well, I apologize for that sincerely." To which Tom simply replied, "Good." It was a devastatingly effective exchange. There was no room for ambiguity, no space for further argument. Cruise didn't need to raise his voice or resort to anger. He simply and powerfully commanded respect and insisted on professional conduct. It was the ultimate demonstration of his power, not through aggression, but through an absolute refusal to tolerate disrespect. Over the years, interviewers, both novice and veteran, have attempted every conceivable tactic to elicit a reaction from Tom Cruise. They've deployed loaded questions, personal digs, calculated gotcha moments, and as we saw, even physical pranks. Yet, through it all, Tom Cruise has consistently refused to play their game. His strength, his power, does not emanate from a need to raise his voice to make a point. He doesn't need to explode in anger to hold sway or demonstrate his authority. And crucially, he certainly doesn't need to humiliate anyone else to feel bigger, more important, or more powerful himself. His true power lies in his extraordinary restraint, in his unwavering control over his emotions and his responses, and in his profound understanding that a well-placed silence or a precisely articulated sentence can strike far harder, resonate far deeper, and achieve a far more impactful outcome than any angry rant ever could. He embodies a quiet, almost Zen-like command, where his presence alone is often enough to shift the dynamic of an entire room. So, the next time you see Tom Cruise smiling during a press tour, radiating his signature charm and approachability, just remember this. That smile isn't a sign of weakness. It's not an invitation for disrespect. On the contrary, it is, for those who truly understand, a subtle yet potent warning. Because if you step out of line, if you choose to cross that boundary, he won't shout. He won't lose control. Instead, with an almost surgical precision and an unshakable dignity, he will simply and unequivocally outclass you. He will demonstrate with quiet authority that true strength lies not in volume, but in composure, conviction, and an unwavering sense of self. What are your thoughts on these remarkable instances? Do you admire Tom Cruise's approach to handling difficult and invasive questions? Or do you believe interviewers are simply doing their job and seeking to uncover deeper truths? We'd love to hear your perspectives and insights in the comments section below. Your engagement fuels our discussions. If you found this deep dive compelling and thought-provoking, please ensure you've liked this video, subscribed to our channel for more explorations into the lives of Hollywood's greats, and perhaps shared it with a friend who appreciates a good story of composure under pressure. Your continued support is invaluable to us. Thank you for joining us on this fascinating journey. Until next time, take care and stay curious.